Welcome to the All Things Good podcast. I am your coach and your host, Giovanna Cirillo. Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast that helps you with your self-development, mental health, and your overall wellness, helping you become the greatest version of yourself. I want to say thank you to my listeners who are listening throughout the world. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I want to know, how are you? How are you doing? What's going on in your world? Is there anything that you need? Please reach out to me at allthingsgoodcoaching@gmail.com. I want to hear from you. If you are not following or you have not subscribed to the Bereavement, please go ahead and do that. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. And this is an organization centered on helping young men and men grieve. They have multiple activities and programs that help them to just process the loss of a loved one. So if you know anyone or you're just looking to be amongst a community of men who are doing the emotional work, go ahead and follow him. Follow him. Maybe you can help him out. Maybe you guys can connect, or maybe you can be helped and served by this community. If you are not following the Homecoming series, ladies, this is specifically for you, for the ladies who are tired of being the yes girl. Tired of saying yes to everyone and being there for everyone and never being there for yourself. Now, I'm not telling you to disregard everyone around you, but I'm telling you that you need to start putting you first. That's what I'm telling you. Please, I understand. I know exactly what it is to lose myself and help everyone else. And then when I come back to look at my life, I have nothing. I'm lacking resources. I'm lacking love. There's so many things that I was lacking, and I began to change it all around. And I want to help you do the same. So tune in, subscribe to Spotify, the Homecoming series. You can also subscribe to YouTube, and you can find the series there. And I want to thank you in advance for tuning in. So today we have a lovely guest by the name of Soulara. Soulara is a holistic Reiki master teacher, corporate wellness facilitator, author, and visionary, founder and CEO of Soul Sweet Wellness LLC. As a leader in the transformational wellness space for micro and enterprise healthcare and wellness organizations, Soulara provides holistic wellness tools and support for those ready to move beyond surface level wellness and into deep, sustainable transformation. With over 25 years of combined training, experience, and service in psychology, cardiac nursing, and energy healing, Soulara offers a grounded, result-oriented approach to holistic wellness, one that bridges emotional well-being, full body support, and high performance. Help me by welcoming Soulara. Welcome, Soulara. How are you today?
I am well, Giovanna. How are you?
I am doing great. Now, did I pronounce your name correctly?
100%.
Okay, because I know we went through it, but I was like, I don't remember.
Yes, that was perfect.
I'm so glad to have you on. I loved our discussion, and I'm excited for our listeners to get a better understanding of who you are and what led you to the path that you are currently in. So tell us about your story, your background. What was the pivotal moment in your life that led you to become a Reiki healer?
I love that question because it spans so many decades of self-discovery and trying things that I thought were for me at the time, and then realizing, oh, that's just a part of it. And then continuing this journey of discovering and expansion, and to be where I am now is really a full circle moment. So I'll take it all the way back to thinking that I was going to be a psychiatrist. This was many years ago. It was one of those moments where I said to myself, even as a young child, I said, I really want to help people. And what does that look like for me? And so I would go into my pediatrician's office. We all remember, we had these checkups we had to get on a routine basis. And so one time I was in there and I'm looking around and I'm seeing her nurse and a lot of other patients and her receptionist. And I just started feeling as though I like this. She is an important lady. People are coming to see her. So I want to do this. And
Right.
so for me, it was just the physician part of it. I knew that it wouldn't be a pediatrician, but I knew that being a doctor in and of itself was the path at that time. And so just imagine someone, a young girl, just having these big adult dreams like, okay, who am I going to be when I grow up? And I started realizing that people would come up to me and tell me their challenges or problems that they were having. And then they would ask me what I would think and for advice. And these could be people of all ages. And I would just think to myself, like, why are they coming up to me, number one? And then why do they think I know the answer? And
Right.
so I just started leaning into what I would actually feel and hear, and I would share that with them, and it would seem to help them. And so for me, I started saying, what kind of doctor does that? And so that is
Mm,
when I came up with the term of psychiatry. And so I began this journey of preparing for medical school and pre-med and all of that. And so then it takes me up until my college years, and even applying and getting into Xavier in New Orleans and all of this, everything was laid out. And then I
right.
got to college, and then I realized after hearing that the on-call portion of residency and what that entailed did not resonate with me at all. Like I knew I had to cut it off after a certain point in time and separate myself, like go home and that's it. And so when I found out that it wasn't going to be that way, I just took a risk on myself, and I took a leap of faith, is really what it was, and said, let me find something that resonates better. And so many years later, going back home after college and finding out about nursing and then having an opportunity to become a nurse has taken me on a journey of self discovery and realizing that prioritization of self care is so important to me. And now I have the opportunity to work with patients and clients from the aspect of preventive care and really utilizing my background and my history of healthcare. And I'll mention one other quick thing, which was kind of that pivotal, as you said, that was a story of burnout. Even though I escaped sort of that full frontal with being the physician, being a nurse, I wasn't taking care of myself. So I did fall into that burnout experience, which actually led me to saying, you know what? I want to help patients before they get into the hospital because I actually ended up in the hospital myself. I was at work one day and actually did not go home that night. And so I made a promise to myself then, if I can get out of here without a diagnosis that is, telling me that, oh, you're on medications and all of that, then pronto, I will, begin my self-care journey and help other people. And so that's what happened. I got the all clear. I began my own self-care journey and began to turn that into a business.
Wow. Awesome. So much
Yeah.
information, so much that you've obtained throughout the years. But like you said, you mentioned a key point. It was all part of the process. It all connected to who you are now because each journey that you took was a piece of the puzzle to bring about the fullness of the person that you are now. And I want our listeners to understand that just because it took you a bit longer to get to where you are now, it do not take that in vain. Those journeys and those trails that God puts you on, or the journeys that you take, it's all for a reason. And for me specifically, I one day I questioned, like, who am I? What am I doing? And when I began to look at my background, my history, I'm like, oh wait, this, oh this, and this, and I began to put the pieces together. And like you said, I was like, okay, I'm a coach. I'm supposed to help people, and that is when the revelation came. So don't despise the journey. It's all for a reason, and you're never late, always on time. I
Always.
love that, Solara. I love it. And so, what made you actually dive into Reiki? Because there was a particular thing that you mentioned in our discussion that I want our listeners to hear.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for asking me that specific question because it's very important because it really gives a lot of credence to who I am as a person. I am a very sensitive person. Some people use the term empathic, spiritual, a seer, words like that to explain someone who can download information quite easily from the environment, from other sources, all for the good, right? This is
Right,
information that we call that gut feeling.
right.
And so for me, during that recovery journey and healing from the burnout and constructing the plan to continue taking care of myself, I was just one day, and I don't even remember what I was doing, but it was something that was very nonchalant because I wasn't very focused. And I was able to hear audibly in my ear the word Reiki. Like I just heard it. And I actually kind of stopped what I was doing and looked around because I knew what I heard, but I did not know what it was specifically at that time. And so I went over to my computer, and I don't even know if I spelled it correctly at that time, but I was just like, okay, Reiki. And so when I started reading what it was, I said, this is me. This is what I'm here to do. Like, this is it. And so I began researching more about it and looking for a Reiki master teacher and how does this work, in Atlanta, and how can I get certified? And then the whole story behind that is one that is, again, so aligning. I had a friend who was a chiropractor who invited me to an event one day. And I just remember everything was going wrong that day. My car wouldn't start. I think it was even raining that day. Like, all kinds of things were just telling me, no, stay at home, don't go, don't go. And so I entertained that in my mind, like, I don't know. I mean, it's getting closer to where, I'm supposed to be at this event. And it was on the other side of town, like literally an hour away. And I just started thinking to myself, like, I don't think I'm going to go. But there was something, again, that part of me that knows. It said, no, you're supposed to go. And I'm thinking, it's just, an event at this restaurant. Like, really, I'm having this conversation. And so I just said, well, I'm going to take Marta. I'm just going to get a ride to the train station because, again, this was like going to be an hour through traffic. I'm already going to be a bit late. And so sure enough, I got there and I had to take Marta. I had to take Uber from Marta. Like, it was a whole journey. And I was thinking,
Wow.
like, should I even still keep going, even though I was up north? And so I made it to the event, got into the restaurant, went to the back of the restaurant into the conference room, and I had my hand on the door and I was just thinking, I do not like being late. I think I'm just going to go home. And I had my hand on the door. I was there. And I just said, well, open the door and go in. There was another aspect of myself, and some people call it the higher self. And so I just
Yes.
said, let me listen. I just opened the door. I mean, literally, I walked in. Imagine, you're going to an event and the speaker is talking, and I'm kind of tiptoeing in and sorry, I get to my seat. I see my friends. I sit next to her. And I just realized throughout the meeting, she's kind of, letting me know that, oh, I want to introduce you to someone afterwards. And so afterwards, this lady was the Reiki master teacher.
Wow.
And I didn't even tell my friend that I was interested in Reiki or anything like that. She was like, oh, this is Jess, and she's a Reiki master. I said, she's a who? We had a conversation with no words. In
Wow.
fact, she has written the foreword for my book, 10 Things You Should Know About Reiki Nobody Ever Told You. She's written the foreword. She tells the story the same way that I'm sharing it now. We had a conversation with no words. I looked at her, she looked at me, and we said, mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. Like, there were no words, but she knew and I knew, you are for me, I am for you. Where do I sign up? Like, I knew it and she knew it, and it just went very, very quickly, very, very quickly.
Wow. That's an amazing story. I love how things are orchestrated in that way. And I love the fact that you listen to your intuition. You're like, no, I
Yes,
have to go. And even
yes,
though there was something that was doubting, that lower self just saying, no,
yeah,
self-sabotage, no, don't
yeah,
do it. We're going to be
yeah,
late.
yeah, yeah,
But you
right?
still proceeded despite of what you were
Yes.
feeling. And I love
Mm,
that.
thank
So
you.
tell our listeners, what exactly is Reiki? What is that? Can you describe what that is for our listeners?
Absolutely beautiful and very important question. And actually, one of the reasons why I have written my book. Um, it is a Japanese form of energy healing. And so someone may say, well, what is energy healing? Well, everything is made of energy. And because everything is made up of energy, everyone has a frequency and a vibration. And that's how we move, that's how we speak and what we eat and even what we wear. So everything has this charge to it, this frequency. And what happens is, as a physical being in our bodies, we sometimes encounter blockages or we encounter these and they're not even physical, but they're energetic blockages that hold us back from achieving our desires. Or in my case, like you said, I could have listened to that part of myself, and that could have been, and I'm going to mention a term here, my solar plexus, which is located right here. That's an energy center. And we have 7 main energy centers, but that could have been that part of that power part of me that said, if you go, then you could become this person that you've always wanted to be. Are you ready for that? There was a blockage there that was trying to prevent me from, reaching my highest self, the highest
Interesting.
version of myself. Yes. And so it works like that. We have these energy centers, and they go from the tailbone or the root up to the crown of our head. And so these are seen when you look at the back of the spine. And so they have colors, and these energy centers are called chakras. And so the colors are emitting a certain frequency, so you're able to tell the difference. And there's red for the root, there is orange for the sacral chakra, there is yellow for the solar plexus chakra, and then we get into the heart chakra, which is green. Some people say that it's pink as well, but green is the more resonant color that most of us see. And then there is the throat chakra, which is a sky blue or a light blue. And then our third eye chakra right here, and that is more of a darker blue. And then we get to our crown chakra, which in some cases is white or purple. And
Interesting.
so, yes, and so with Reiki, the practitioner learns how to go into these energy centers by sort of hovering over the individual. And what we utilize is the intention. So, if someone calls me and they're saying, I want a session, they may say, something's going on, I just feel blocked. And oftentimes people will say that they actually feel blocked. Like, I know I should be doing this one thing over here, but I don't know why I'm not able to do that, or something's holding me back. So I look for keywords like that. Sometimes
Okay.
someone has a physical issue, and these chakras are actually the houses for the physical organs. So
Wow.
imagine a heart chakra, what is going to be in that center? The heart. But then there's also like the thymus gland and other organs in that region. Crown chakra, we think about the brain, right? The pineal gland. So there are actually organs that are associated with these chakras. And so as a Reiki master teacher, I go into the areas that are the intention has been set for, and there's a certain way that we're taught to. I call it do the heavy lifting. So
Okay.
I am in alignment. I'm on one accord with the client, and then I lift that energy. And so there's immediate relief that is felt. The client is actually, when they, and I say awakened, but I utilize a method that helps them to get into this brainwave pattern that is similar to sleep. And I haven't had a client yet that does not go to sleep when I do my Reiki sessions, because of the way that I go into that subconscious mind. I don't want the client to be thinking about, oh, am I going grocery shopping after this? Or, what am I going to eat afterwards? And so I get to
Right.
that sort of that core part of who they are, the subconscious, and do the heavy lifting there. And when they open their eyes and they're able to recalibrate themselves, I also share insights that came through during their session. So these are practical tools and steps that can help them with their original intention that they came to see me for. So for me and my services, it's not a one and done. There's actually, I feel better now, what do I do? And then I
Okay.
share, well, this is what came through for you. And then they usually take notes, they usually implement that. And I have a lot of repeat clients because they want more of that. They want to know, like, some people actually want to become Reiki practitioners themselves.
Right. Wow, that's all interesting. That sounds also interesting. Thank you so much for explaining that the way that you did. And I love the fact that you mentioned that there's organs that are connected to every one of these chakras or
Yes, yes,
eyes. So
absolutely.
I love that. I love that. So, okay, so you went through this journey. You began to realize that you needed to slow down and that you needed to practice self-care, because you said you would begin to practice self-care once this diagnosis came off, right?
Hmm, hmm.
And so from there, you went into Reiki healing, excuse me, Reiki healing. And then how does Reiki and self-care correlate? Like, is Reiki a form of self-care? Would you say that?
100%. It is the primary way that I practice self care every single day. I learned very quickly that for me, Reiki was not going to be just something that I do when a client signs up. I realized I have to live and be and embody Reiki. And one of the things that dropped into my physical being and my body and my soul was that I am Reiki. Reiki, when we translate it from direct Japanese, is universal life force energy. I am universal life force energy. I am Reiki. And so it's important for me every single day to do Reiki on myself. If I do not, I know exactly how I feel. It's off. I know that something is wrong. Let's just say I, stayed up late the previous night, or I ate some food that was, maybe very greasy or not as, nutritious. I'm going to feel off because, again, I'm very sensitive. And so I have to, as I say, I have to get that off of me. So I have to wake up. I have to actually do what I need to do, and I do my own heavy lifting. So there's a whole process that I do, but definitely Reiki is it. I would recommend it as a form of self-care because everything is energy. When you go to that energetic part of who you are, everything else ripples outward, right? Because the
Okay.
energy, as I said, is connected to the organs, the chakras are. So the organs, as we know, is more physical. So the physicality has to do with how you actually feel. Like even with your organs, like what is your blood pressure? How are you handling stress? So it is definitely a number one tool that I would recommend. And if someone doesn't want to learn it for themselves, I highly recommend locating a Reiki practitioner just to try it out, just to see how that works. I know, for example, we all know about massages, right? Whether it's male or female. Some people,
Right.
gravitate more towards the physicality. But what are we doing for the soul care? What are we doing for the spiritual care of our bodies that is actually nurturing and that impacts the physical body as well? So, absolutely, I would recommend Reiki as a form of self care.
Awesome, awesome. You kind of answered the question. So my next question was what are the benefits of Reiki healing? But you mentioned it's almost like a soul alignment. It's almost like
Yes.
healing parts of your soul
Mhm.
that were shattered or maybe fragmented. Is that correct? Is that what am I understanding it correctly?
Absolutely. And you've explained something that's actually the deeper work with Reiki. Not everybody is on a level to understand. And I use the word understand versus understand, but to understand that that's your soul, your spirit, your energy is a part of you that never dies. And
Right.
so if one is able to take the journey from that standpoint, knowing that if a person has never died, there's a lot of carryover from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. How is that being rectified? How is that energy being cleansed from past lives, for example? And so if someone is on that particular level, and I know just by having that conversation and that consultation, then if they're saying, I'm open, I want to know, what is it that's probably unfinished. And it brings me to the point where we always set an intention for the Reiki sessions because it has to guide the client from a mindset standpoint into what they intend. It's like a prayer. This is what I would like from this particular Reiki session. Here's the other caveat to that: energy is intelligent. So someone may come in and say, oh, I I want to make more money, and I can't figure out why I'm not able to manifest. Well, it could not be from what they think it is. The reason they may think is that, oh, someone is blocking me, or, maybe there's something that's working against me. Well, the first thing is that everything works together for our good. That's the
Right.
first thing. And the second thing is that realizing that maybe there's an energy center, such as our sacral chakra, where the person hasn't really tapped into their creativity. And that is a way that they should express themselves to bring in the manifestations of the finances that they really want. But if they are not tapped into that sacral chakra, or they're fearful, maybe someone told them they can sing, if you will, we'll use an example, but someone told them, oh, you can't sing. And then so their voice is that gets with another chakra, throat chakra, right? But someone is being told that, oh, you can't do that. And then so they take on this fear of, okay, well, maybe I'm not a good singer, feeling like they're not good enough. And so they don't pursue the gifts that they came to share. Quite often our gifts really bring us the manifestations that we are seeking. So with that said, setting intentions helps to guide the energy, but the energy is intelligent. So even though they're coming in for one thing, the energy is going to go to the chakra that's the root cause, right?
Right.
And so this is that co-healing aspect of Reiki. There's also the physical and the mental and emotional alignment that you so beautifully mentioned that takes place. People just feel so good. Sometimes people cry during the session. They're connecting with a part of themselves that they haven't previously done. ever in a lot of cases. I've heard one person say that they just haven't cried in years, but all of a sudden their heart is just open and they just release and let it go. And so feelings of just overall wellness, like I feel good, clarity. People get
Mm.
up from the Reiki table and they're just saying like, oh my goodness, I know they're really attuned already to more of their sensitive abilities. They will say, I know exactly what I need to do. I was confused or I wasn't quite sure, but you confirmed, or this session confirmed what I need to do
Right.
forward. So they get up ready to go. So they're activated already. So activation is another part of it.
Mm.
Once I cleanse and uplift, and let's be clear, it's not a one and done,
Right.
session, because it's like layers of an onion. We take off the first layer, then another awareness comes up. There's a point in time where the body has to rebalance. There's still self-care that must go forward, eating higher frequency foods, rest, hydration, all of those things to help the healing going forward. But there is an activation of those energy centers where the person is ready for those action steps. And it comes down, sometimes I often tell them, because food has the higher frequency colors. So I'll say, well, might I suggest eating more of the yellow foods, depending on what comes through during the session.
Mm.
Oftentimes it's food related. It could be an activity that they should do for more of a beneficial response to the Reiki session. So those are just some of the things, some of the benefits.
Wow, wow. That is beautiful. And as you were speaking, I mean, there was so much that was happening in my mind. I'm like,
Oh.
visions here and there. But
Uh-huh.
it sounds like a lot of inner healing. And I say this because I know that for some people, the term Reiki or the term energy centers, all these things can begin to throw people off because of belief systems. How can you begin to break those stigmas for people who may feel like they need this, but don't necessarily feel very comfortable with the terminology that is being used, or maybe they feel it's something that's not, what they're not used to, I should say.
Mhm. I love that question because I come from a background where I was a Baptist growing up. And so I know what it feels like to just hold on to what I was taught. And I was not ready for anything. If it wasn't in the Bible, it didn't have a scripture attached to it. Even some of the papers and things that are, now being shown to have relevance to the certain, period where the Bible was written. I was just like, no, 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 anti all of that. And so I come from that. So I completely understand that. But one of the things that I share with people is that there is going to become a point where that inner curiosity, from the standpoint of, I've been doing this for quite some time and it's not giving me the result that I'm seeking. I need something more, something deeper. This gets into a trusting of everything that is here, because there's different scriptures that talk about, everything that was created under the sun is good. You and I both know that, there's polar differences there. There's a yin, there's a yang. So there is some darkness that's tied in. However, I encourage people to listen to that heart aspect of themselves, to listen to the fact that, okay, I'm doing this over here. And I myself had a spiritual awakening in 2011. So imagine, I started off as a Baptist, and then in 2011, I knew that things were not working in the way that was producing the effect that I wanted. So there was an inner craving for something deeper. And so it was a process. I would not recommend anyone just jump into any and everything that provides or seems to provide an answer, but do the research, do the work, check in with themselves. How does this sound? If I take out my Bible, is there something mentioned about energy and healing? Yeshua, or some people refer to him as Jesus, he healed people by the laying on of hands. When I got into that awareness, I said, well, it sounds to me he was doing a form of energy healing. Might not have been Reiki in and of itself, but he had some awareness of being able to put his hands and channel energy, pull it from somewhere and place it into the people. And we already know the stories of how many people were healed, and from the physical
Right.
aspects, from the mental aspects. And so we have to be able to do our own research and go beyond what we've been taught and actually say, you know what, I know that this is what I heard, but let me go in here, let me highlight, let me read, let me study to show myself approved. Is this
Mhm.
what it's really is this what I'm reading really what's being said? What is my interpretation? And so I think that it's going to be on a personal basis for someone to say, people talk against, for instance, crystals or things of that nature. But then you go in and read about how Solomon had X and YZ crystals. Which one is it? We have to be able to discern for ourselves. Is it good or is it not good? It's from the earth, So,
Right.
and I'm not here to, of course, try to, set up a conversation about what is or what isn't. It's up for the individual to decide and to determine and to discern, and anything that and we know within ourselves, we'll go somewhere and we'll say, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right, or oh, I don't
Right.
like your vibe. So I encourage people to feed more into that part of them that is guiding them, that is leading them. Pray about it, even, if it's something that someone is led to do. But it's always an inside out job, and it's just forming your own um, belief system based on, and nurturing that based on what you're being drawn to, what your answer is from when you pray, things of that nature. I never tell anyone to just, oh, that doesn't mean anything, or just discount it,
Right.
because again, I came from that. So I know how much of a challenge that can be.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that.
You're
So,
welcome.
what are some indications that there are energy centers that are blocked? Like, give me an example. Let's start from, I know you gave me the sacral and creativity. Give me some examples for each chakra. Can you do that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, right beneath the sacral chakra is our root chakra, and that deals more with stability and feeling grounded and connected. So, if there is a blockage with that root chakra, someone is going to have issues with trust, for example. And I'll say these are the probable, or some things that can happen. I don't want to say what is, but these are some things that how it can manifest. Someone could have a feeling of that their job is not providing the amount of income that they need. They're feeling as though there's a lack identification that's there. They don't feel stable within their own body. I was speaking with someone a few days ago who just felt completely disconnected. Like they felt like they were not even present within themselves. They kind of felt as though they were um, just floating, right? And so I was like, okay, we got to get some grounding here, And so I kind of went into what my suggestions would be. And so that could be a blockage. Feeling as though people are against them, not feeling as though they are enough, having feelings of anxiety. So that's getting into the not feeling grounded, not feeling stable or being provided for, whether it's financial or if it's something physical, right?
Mm.
So that's more
Sounds like a
through.
form of safety, like a
Yeah,
form of.
exactly, exactly. It kind of reminds me, those who may know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that also kind of comes into play, right? So that's that safety, like you said, feeling as though everything that I need is taken care of.
Mm.
And so sometimes someone can have everything that they physically need, but there's still a sense that they're something's missing. Some people
Mm.
come and they say, well, something's missing. And again, that gets into maybe a past journey where that wasn't rectified, because the outside environment is saying, yes, you have a beautiful home, you have a car. Why do you feel as though, something is missing? So then we can kind of determine what's going on from there. We talked about the sacral a little bit. And so then the solar plexus chakra. This is empowerment. This is solar. This is sun. This is how we show up. Let's take it to something that is relatable for some of us who are a little bit more sensitive. You don't want to post online. You don't want to go live. You don't want to, go to live networking events or even online networking events. You want to shrink. You feel as though, people are not going to like me. They're not going to like my message, or maybe I'm not doing enough. So maybe perfectionism starts to show itself in a way that is actually damaging to the goals and intentions that someone has set. And so we would take a look at that solar plexus chakra. And again, when I do the energy work, the energy knows exactly where to go and what's the actual root cause. It begins to do the work. And then I get the insight in, is it food that we continue to nourish? Is it actually wearing more of the yellow color? Is it, what is that? More time in the sun? Is it maybe considering the way that the diet, or adding a supplementation? Now, I don't give prescriptions and all of that, but I do offer suggestions and then refer people to healthcare professionals, especially if it's dealing with medication or supplementation.
Awesome, awesome.
Another one would be the heart chakra. And so that's the one that everybody wants to talk about as far as love. Well, the first love experience is love of self, and not from an ego standpoint, but loving yourself. If you don't know what you need as a person who loves themselves, how can someone else give that to you? How do you know what aligns with you? And I can't even say what you're looking for, because everything that you're looking for is already inside of you. That
Right.
person that comes into your life is a reflection of that. So
Mm.
if you don't know what that looks like, and you don't do the types of things that you enjoy doing. So say, for instance, a person is waiting until that special someone before they go out and enjoy the art museum, or before they go out and do X, Y, and Z. Well, how are you going to attract someone who is already doing that? He might be there, or she might be there. But if you're not
Mm.
doing what you like to do, or what edifies you, then you're going to miss, quite possibly, an opportunity to intertwine with someone.
That makes a lot of
Right,
sense.
right. So it's about full embodiment of who you are. So again, it can show up as just a fear of actually embodying who you are, loving yourself. What does that look like? You and I just talked about um, showing up a certain way, and the hair and all of that, how we express ourselves. And if we don't lean into that, then there's going to be an aspect of us that's kind of um, not shining as brightly, something that's
Mm.
kind of cowering, so to speak, not really expanding. And so we should all be as expansive as we can be, and learning what that looks like for us, because we're all different, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so then that gets into our throat chakra, and that's communication, that's self expression authentically. What is that for you? Someone who is empathic like myself, and I learned that I actually am a recovering people pleaser. And I would have never thought that, like,
Welcome.
oh, I don't, I'm not that. No way. But let me tell you how it showed up for me. For me, it was not wanting to hurt people's feelings by saying what I really thought. So
Right.
being nice, being the nice person. And then I had to learn that, wait a second, I am a nice person. That is separate from how I give the information or show authentically what I really feel about a situation. And so once I made it through that, I realized that don't be concerned about what other people are going to think as a response to how you express yourself. That is for them to be concerned about, not for me. And so finding a level of comfort with that really put me in a place of self acceptance on a whole other level. It's like, oh my goodness, like, I'm not going to be rude when I express myself, but it's going to be in totality, right? So
Exactly.
that is just something that all of us have to learn, I'm sure, after being on the planet for any amount of time. There's all these rules, and don't say this and don't say that. Well, we just have to find a way to authentically, and I believe appropriately, express ourselves. And so then we move into our third eye chakra, and this is really dealing with, it's really called the third eye for a reason. It's that inner vision, it's that perception of seeing beyond sort of that present environment, seeing, maybe for some people, seeing actually what the future could hold, or seeing the possibilities, being able to tap into that part of us that is all knowing. And what does that look like as far as action steps? Some people already know, they come to me and they already know, I know that I have blockages. So that means that they have some certain activations in their chakras. And so with the third eye, and being able to tap into that darker color of blue, and that intuition, we talked about that. What does that look like for someone? Is it something that they hear? In my case, I have all of those intuitive abilities. I can see, I can hear, and this is extra sensory, not just from vision, because as you see, I am wearing glasses at the present moment, but I see beyond, right? I can feel things as well. So that's the intuitive part of us, where if it's blocked, then someone is making decisions that is not for their highest good. They will come and they will say, I don't know why I keep doing the same thing over and over. I knew better. I don't know why I chose that. So
Mm.
they're moving almost disconnected from themselves. And so I
Okay.
would ask certain questions that would get to the root cause of, where is that processing happening? Is it because of a people pleasing nature, that you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, that you're actually, participating in something that you don't want to? Or is it something even deeper? Like you look up and it's like, I don't even know, how did I even get here? Why did I even do that? That's something different, right? So
Right.
it's more of just kind of shutting off that interconnectedness through that third eye, that inner vision, that intuition. And then the crown chakra, that is our connection to the highest realms of consciousness. It's called our crown for a reason, and it's at the top of our head. And so it's just positioned to project up to the heavens and to receive information and insights and wisdom down into the body. And it affects all of the other chakras. And so for me, making sure that I'm cleansing that area every single day from root to crown
Right.
can keep me in a position where I don't have to experience, and these are some of the way that blockages can manifest in the crown. It can be literal confusion, not being able to focus. And those are more the physical attributes, but then also mission, life purpose, values. Someone who doesn't know how to identify with that, someone who is not even aware that they have a purpose. I remember being at a very young age and my mother asking the question, you know, what's my mission? What did I come to do? And I remember even being a young child saying, wow, that is just really an interesting question. What did I come to do? And so, and that was at a probably like, if I go back to like maybe 4 or 5 where I could have to think about it. And then that's when
Wow.
getting back into the helping people. And so that's kind of where that came from, because I was asked that question very often. She primed our minds, like, you're not just here just to be here. You came
I
here to
love
do
that.
something. And so she was very wise beyond her years. And so I know I chose her and her guidance and her teaching, because she was a teacher. So I come from a line of teachers. And so that is how my mind, body, and spirit operates, from a teaching perspective. And so with blockages from the crown chakra, there's just a total disconnect from life purpose, meaning those are the individuals, unfortunately, that may fall into patterns of behavior that are self-destructive, because they're not able to understand that there's a higher calling and purpose. And sometimes it takes situations to allow them to finally get to a stage of, I'm at the very bottom. I want something different. I want to go upwards. And
Right.
sometimes it's just things are spiraling out of control, whether it be addictions and things of that nature. But at some point, and it might not even be this lifetime, for example, but at some point, there's going to be a coming to the table of awareness and saying, okay, there's something better. I might not know what it is, and I need some help. And that's when people usually get on the internet and they're typing in things such as blockages or confusion, whatever it is that they're looking for. And quite often, people are finding me through different keywords. Reiki is an obvious one, but there's one person that said that I came up for like therapy or counseling. So hopefully
Interesting.
that answers, yeah, the questions about how some of the blockages show up.
I love that. And you just breaking everything down and looking at my journey and my healing journey. I'm like, okay, I seem pretty aligned right now because I'm
Uh-huh.
looking at where areas where God was helping me gain confidence,
Hmm.
helping me to be able to speak up. I mean,
Hmm.
just doing the podcast alone, going for my coaching, all these things, my creativity, my art. There's been processes and journeys and times where they were blocked, and God's been kind of like highlighting those areas individually, saying, okay, this is what we need to work on now. So that I come into this place of alignment with who I'm called to be in its fullness. And
Hmm.
so I love how you broke everything down. I love the fact that you mentioned that everyone has a choice. And if you feel the calling to begin to implement this type of healing and process in your life, take a chance. You don't know. Don't judge. I think in this world, we're so quick to judge with the things that we don't understand. And when you begin to look at things objectively, I mean, really like pull back and start to see that the terminology and the way things are done are different, but it's all the same, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. I know you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yes, yes. I sure do. I sure do. Right, right, exactly.
But it's because of our own personal upbringing, our preference, and all these things that we tend to label things differently.
Hmm.
But what I'm seeing is that it's all connected, and it always is. For
Hmm.
me, I'm like, I know that everything is always connected, and everyone has a piece that they can bring to the table, a piece of the puzzle, a piece of God, a reflection of
Hmm.
who God is in
Hmm.
totality. And I
Hmm.
love it. I love your story. I love the breakdown of the energy centers and just how people can begin to break out. I feel like right now we're in a time where no more fear. Like we need to really step out of our place of fear and come into this place of boldness. But that requires, like Soulara said, that healing process, that self-care process where you're focusing on those areas in your life that are hindered, those areas in your life that are not really flowing the way that you would like them to, but you see it. Because there's no way that you don't see it, right? It's like you said, the higher self says, do it. But then there's another part of you that says, no, not yet.
Yeah.
Listen to that voice that says do it, because that's the voice that you want to align with, not the spirit of fear, not the voice of fear, not the voice of doubt, none of that. So this was so good, Soulara. Thank you so much for bringing so much wisdom and information into today's episode. How can our listeners begin to connect with you, book a session? I know you mentioned a book. Let's talk more about that. Let us know.
Absolutely. And Giovanna, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to actually come onto the All Things Good podcast and share more about Reiki and myself and my journey, just to be able to help someone who might be in that position where they are ready to take that next step and don't quite know how to begin. So it's an honor to be here on your show as a guest. So thank you so much. You're welcome. So as far as the booking and being able to connect with me on Instagram, which has become it's coming back full circle for me with Instagram and realizing just where are my people, where are the leaders, where are the healthcare leaders and teams that really are seeking this kind of assistance with the healing and leadership, intuitive leadership building. And so it will be Instagram, and it is Soul Sweet Wellness. And sweet is SUITE Wellness. And that's on Instagram, also on Facebook, Soul Sweet Wellness again, SUITE. And then through email, it is bewell@soulsweetwellness.com. And you'll be able to find links for my booking as well as connecting with me to get on the email list so that people can find out about my book that is coming to be in Q1 of 2026. And that is 10 Things You Should Know About Reiki Nobody Ever Told You.
Awesome. And I'll definitely share the links to your episode. I mean, let's revert that. I'll definitely share the links to your book, to your podcast. Girl, are you about to get a podcast?
You know what? Listen, I think you're speaking something. Yes. My link.
It's something happening that
It
I
is.
don't know about.
Right. Absolutely.
Because that's the second time I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Exactly. You're just
I would share the links to all of your social media, your books, and anything that you have going on in your life. Thank you so much. Do you have any last words for our listeners for today?
Oh my goodness. And you're most welcome. It has been my pleasure. For the listeners, I will just say that you have everything that you need on the inside of you. Go inside and get it.
I love that. I love it. And she is absolutely right. Thank you so much, Soulara. This has been truly an honor, and I hope to speak to you soon. And honestly, maybe you need to look into starting your own podcast, because with all the information that you have and insight, it might be something to add to your little tool belt.
I appreciate you saying that. It's a confirmation because I'm feeling it now, all in my body as you're saying it. I've had different recordings and different things that I have done over the years. And so it is time to really get back into that. So thank you for that. That's confirmation.
Wow. Okay. Until next time, thank you so much, Soulara. You have a good one, okay?
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.